This presentation will guide you through Classroom-Based Assessment 2, the Human Search for Meaning. For CBA 2, students will, over a period of 3 weeks, explore artistic or architectural or archaeological evidence that shows ways that people have engaged in religious belief and/or the human search for meaning and purpose in life. CBAs will be undertaken by students within class time to a national timetable. The relevant dates for religion CBA 2 for the current third years are on screen. The SLAR meeting must be held within a month of the completion date of CBA 2. And please note that if you go up to the final date for completion and award of provisional descriptor, then you must hold the SLAR meeting within a week to remain in line with the final deadlines. It is important to remember that CBAs are part of the teaching and learning process. Prior to commencing CBA 2, it is important that we are familiar with the process and the outline of what this particular CBA entails. So just take a minute to have a read of the title of CBA 2. This CBA aims to develop students' curiosity and understanding about the many ways that humans have expressed the search for meaning, a quest that transcends cultural and generational boundaries. Religion is one of the major sources used to generate a sense of meaning and purpose in life. Students should demonstrate an awareness of this and, where relevant, be able to show their understanding of how religious belief systems have enabled people to construct life meaning. Social and secular influences that provide life meaning may be relevant depending on the focus of study. We need to keep in mind that the search for the meaning in life refers to attempts to understand what one's life as a whole means, rather than efforts to understand the meaning of a particular event. These definitions for artistic, architectural, and archaeological evidence can be found in the glossary of the specification, see Appendix A. Also note that for the purposes of this CBA, artistic evidence may include literature and films. It is essential that this CBA is grounded in the learning outcomes and that you and your students continuously go back to the title, the learning outcomes, the assessment guidelines, and glossary of key terms. This should help to fully engage with the CBA and to stay on track. Given that these are the learning outcomes linked to CBA 2, we might want to ensure that they have been engaged with so far in our plans. And when we revisit these outcomes after CBA 2, we can build on the knowledge and skills that students have gained. As human persons, we all seek meaning and purpose in life. And these are some of the common questions that underpin this search. Questions such as, what is the purpose of life? Why am I here? What makes for happiness? Can one's life make a difference? What happens when we die? Is there a God or gods or a divine reality? These questions are common in that they are shared by everybody, central as they help us to understand ourselves and our world, and contestable as they can lead to different and sometimes competing understandings. It is important that this CBA explores one or more of these questions, drawing upon artistic, architectural, or archaeological evidence. The assessment guidelines give us the following possible prompts and pointers as a starting point for students choosing a topic. These are just examples, and the list is by no means exhaustive. Collaboratively, you could draw up a list of possible items or places and discuss how the search for meaning might be explored by your students in your classroom. You might like to think about examples that can be found locally, nationally, and internationally. The student resource for CBA 2 would be useful to support students with this activity. For further support on artistic evidence, visit jct.ie. For example, we have an article in the current newsletter on Muslim art. Perhaps you and your colleagues could explore resources such as our newsletter for inspiration. And this inspiration could prompt classroom discussion around religious belief and the search for meaning through the artistic medium. This year, our monthly newsletter will have a focus on RE and the arts to support teachers with CBA 2, as well as providing links to learning outcomes 1.5 and 2.1. As regards architectural evidence, we know that many students are already familiar with terms such as layout, features, interior and design, as these are terms that they may have already come across in their own lives and are associated with the planning and construction of buildings such as mosques or a synagogue, memorials or a church. We have a virtual visits poster that could be a valuable resource here with its links to virtual tours of architectural buildings and sites. You will find this on our website. And again, you might like to collaborate with your colleagues to draw up a list of possible spaces or places that may prompt discussion with your students in the classroom. To facilitate conversations around archaeological evidence with both colleagues or students, our JCT RE Twitter page has recently posted tweets that could be useful when considering archaeology as a topic for CBA 2. For example, our JCT RE Twitter page has an interesting article from National Geographic that could prompt classroom discussion around religious belief and the search for meaning through archaeological evidence. You'll find this link on the handout, and do follow us on our Twitter account at JCTRE for more ideas. And you can see our tweets in the news events section of our website if you're not on Twitter. Students can choose to work individually, in pairs, or in small groups. If students decide to work in groups, it is advisable that groups are not generally larger than 3 to 4 students to ensure that all students can work effectively together. Also, if students are working in pairs or small groups, then it is important to ensure that the role and contribution of each student is clear and significant so that it can be assessed by the teacher. You might like to use the template from the assessment guidelines to support students who decide to undertake a group project. On screen are the 4 stages for completing CBA 2: inquiry, exploration, reflection, reporting. These stages are based on those outlined in the NCCA assessment guidelines. We will now look at each one of these in more detail. It is important to note that students should be discouraged from simply downloading and presenting information. Instead, students should be encouraged to explore and demonstrate how their chosen topic links to the human search for meaning and purpose in life. It is important to emphasize the need to make links between their chosen piece of evidence and people's engagement in the religious belief and our human search for meaning and purpose in life. So in undertaking the inquiry stage of the CBA, the following questions, might help students to focus on what they're being asked to do. What area is of most interest to me? The artistic, the architectural, or the archaeological? What aspect of the human search for meaning is of interest to me? Is there a particular big question or a number of big questions that I'd like to explore? What is this? And how can I connect the two? You will find these prompts in the assessment guidelines, and we have developed resources based on these in our new student CBA supports. The links to these are in our document, which will be shared later in our chat. Secondly, during the 3-week window, as students begin their exploration, they might consider the following questions to clarify how they will carry out their research and remain focused on the title. How or where will I find information? Is there a relevant site or monument, building, tomb, or art gallery that I can visit physically or virtually? How do I keep a record of information and ideas that I gather? These inquiry and exploration prompts can support effective student research, which, as we have seen from the features of quality, are emphasized. If you examine the features of quality, you'll also see the strong emphasis on student reflection. At this point, students are asked to consider what they have learned, how they have learned it, and what it might mean for them now or in the future. Just a reminder to keep the reflection focused on the CBA title rather than a broad or general reflection on the process. The prompts in the new student support resource will help them with this. It's also important to remember that reflection skills should be developed and woven into units of learning from first year and over the 3-year cycle. Finally, as regards reporting, students may use a variety of formats such as an essay, poster, PowerPoint, audio, or video presentation. If students work in pairs or in small groups, they can choose to report individually or complete a group report, remembering, however, that each student will be assessed for their own individual work, which will be assessed against the features of quality. Where students choose to present their report orally, it is useful to advise them that the report should last about 3 minutes. Where students are reporting orally as a small group, the duration of each student's contribution should afford them the opportunity to make a meaningful contribution, although groups of 3 do not necessarily need to create a 9-minute oral report. Go to the website, and here in our Student CBA 2 resources, you will help them to navigate their way through the various stages, beginning with choosing their topic, exploration, inquiry, reflection, and action. You will also find a useful checklist and a template for students to complete individually if they undertake a group project. Teachers can use these resources as a standalone resource or draw from individual sections of it. The role of the teacher then, over the 3-week CBA 2 process, is to clarify the title and focus of the CBA, observe student research, and provide ongoing formative feedback. Teachers may use the NCCA examples of student work to clarify the meaning and interpretations of the features of quality to the students. Teachers should also provide formative feedback to students at key moments during the 3-week period to move students forward. And teachers should provide supports for students with special educational needs as normal to maintain inclusivity. We hope that you found this helpful. And if you have any further questions or queries, please do not hesitate to contact our team. We are here to help and to support you in your work in the ORE classroom throughout the year. Thank you.